On Global TV News Prime, federal government bans admission transfer into SS3 to curb exam malpractice. In business, Central Bank of Nigeria raises 825 billion naira in final 2025 debt auctions. On the foreign scene, Thailand declares curfew along coast as Cambodia-Thailand border fighting spreads. And in sports, John Cena announces retirement from World Wrestling Entertainment after a 24-year career. Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Prime on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Shehu Said. And a quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and StarTimes channel 276. The federal government has announced a nationwide ban on the admission and transfer of students into senior secondary school SS3 in both public and private secondary schools across Nigeria. The directive was issued by the Federal Ministry of Education in a press release signed by the Director of Press and Public Relations, Boriowo Folashade. The press release stated that the decision was taken following growing concerns over the increasing incidence of examination practice, including the use of so-called special centers during external examinations. The Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC) has vowed that there is no going back on its planned nationwide protest scheduled for December 17 against the wave of insecurity confronting the country. National President of the Union, Joe Ajero, made this vow shortly after a courtesy visit to the chairman of the 19 Northern States Governors Forum and Governor of Gombe State, Inueha. He stated that the protests will demand decisive government action against insecurity, stressing that the situation now affects every Nigerian, regardless of status or occupation. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, has called on African parliaments to speak with one voice in response to the changing patterns of global politics. He made the call at the Third General Assembly of the Conference of Speakers and Presidents of African Legislatures in Rabat, Morocco. Abbas noted that the African parliaments have a critical role to play in advancing the continent's interests and priorities within the evolving world order. The African Democratic Congress (ADC) has announced a 90-day nationwide membership mobilization, revalidation, and registration exercise. According to a statement by the party's spokesperson Bolaji Abdullahi, ADC has also approved provisional dates for congresses at polling units, ward and local government levels between January 20 and 27, 2026. The process will culminate in a non-elective national convention scheduled for February 2026 in Abuja. The Imo State Police Command has demolished an illegal mortuary uncovered in Umuehem Umuhu community along the Owerri-Aba Expressway. The facility is suspected to be used for storing mutilated corpses linked to an organ harvesting operation. The State Commissioner of Police, Aboki Danjuma, says security operatives are intensifying efforts to arrest the alleged operator, Stanley Oparagu, also known as Morocco, who remains at large. Our correspondent Amarach Ibe reports.
Days after the Imo State Police Command uncovers the illegal mortuary in Umechim Umuhu community, a joint team of security personnel and state officials returned to the site. Led by the Commissioner of Police, Danjuma Aboki, the team moved in to pull down the mortuary and adjoining hotel authorities describe as a cover and the suspect's residential building. Before demolition begins, unclaimed bodies are evacuated from the mortuary for mass burial.
We are going to wait for some days for those that devils the corpse should come and claim their corpses. And up till now, the owner of the mortuary that was declared wanted, he has not come out
The Commissioner for Health, Dr. Chioma Egu, knows that the mortuary is not registered or licensed and poses a serious health threat. She explains that the check by her ministry shows vital organs are missing from several bodies, forcing the government to act. She adds that a task force is being set up to shut down illegal mortuaries across the state.
Following the directive of His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Imo State, to evacuate the rest of the corpses out of here to a proper mortuary, and then we'll give a few days more grace in case there are people who own them, and then we'll have a mass burial. So
the chairman of Nkokpala local government area, Chika Ibekwe, says residents welcomed the demolition and commended the state government for intervening.
So when we made the announcement, we noticed that they started evacuating some corpses. I got some calls from their relatives. I got some calls from some of the indigenes of this local government who came to say that they have their relatives lodged here.
Security agency says the operation continues as efforts intensify to dismantle criminal hideouts across the state and apprehend those responsible. From Owerri, Amarachi Ibe reporting for Global TV News.
Bayelsa State Governor Duye Diri has ordered an autopsy to determine the cause of death of Deputy Governor Lawrence Erujapo, who collapsed in his office on Thursday. Governor Diri issued the directive while receiving former President Goodluck Jonathan at the government house in Yenagoa, warning against politicizing the death. Both leaders later paid a condolence visit to the Deputy Governor's widow, Beatrice. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency NIMET has forecast hazy conditions across northern and central Nigeria, with isolated thunderstorms in parts of the south this Sunday. NIMET said dust haze may reduce visibility in the north and central regions, while southern states, including Lagos, Rivers, and Akwa Ibom, may experience pockets of afternoon rainfall. The agency advised motorists and residents to take precautionary measures, especially during early morning and evening hours. With Christmas just days away, many Nigerians are expressing concerns over the rising cost of food items and the growing insecurity across several parts of the country. Despite the festive spirit, citizens say this year's celebration will require extra caution and careful planning. Kabir Hassan reports.
As festive seasons approaches, Abuja residents say a high cost of living is shaping how families will celebrate Christmas this year. Many Nigerians say inflation has forced them to cut back on spending and prioritize only essential needs. They also express concern about safety, urging government agencies to strengthen security patrols during the holidays.
I advise my fellow Nigerians to remain calm. You cannot force yourself, do things above your limit. Whatever you have at your disposal, manage it. If there's no need for you to travel, remain in wherever you are and celebrate the Christmas with your families.
Avoid drinking a lot of alcohol in the sense of thinking you are celebrating. Your consumption for alcohol should reduce.
We don't need to force ourselves on something that is higher, but we can manage the one that we have at hand. And I believe that God will open way where there is no way. At the condition of the country, I have that belief that one day things will change in Nigeria.
Beyond caution, many Nigerians believe community vigilance and responsible spending are key to staying safe and avoiding unnecessary pressure during the festives.
Wherever they are, but if there is a need for you to travel, you have to security caution.
We should just stay at home because of the insecurities. Because you never can tell where any one of them is coming. Because of the insecurities, and then they call for the food. Just eat what you have. Just be contented with what you have.
Try and stay at home. Even though you are going out, try and come back home early and don't go far away. When you are going out, at least notify some people around you in case they do not see you, because you can never tell. Something may happen. So let us try and be safe.
Whatever you are doing, you have that security conscious. You will move with care. That is the truth of it. And anywhere that you know that there's insecurity, you have to know how to be managing, strolling around. It's not somewhere that when people gather, that's not the kind of place you will gather. The celebration is good, but we have to be on security conscious.
With uncertain economic condition and persistent security concerns, Nigerians say the message this season is simple: celebrate wisely, stay alert, and support one another. Kabir Hassan, reporting for Global TV News.
The trend known as Japa syndrome, where young Nigerians migrate abroad in large numbers, continues to shape national conversations, raising concerns about the country's future workforce and leadership. With many believing that youths are the leaders of tomorrow, the increasing exodus has left Nigerians divided on what this means for the nation's growth. Again, Kabir Hassan was on the streets of Nigerians' opinion on the situation.
Across many Nigerian cities, the desire to seek greener pasture abroad remains strong among young people, while some citizens see the Japa movement as a natural response to unemployment and economic hardship. Others fear it may drain the nation of its most productive minds. On the street of Abuja, Nigerians reacted in different opinions on their take on youths leaving the country despite being considered as the leaders of tomorrow.
The country, our dear country, is not encouraging the youth to stay, because in politics, in anything you want to do, the elders always block the youth of chance to develop their talent. And
so people are living in under the gutter. People are living under the bridge. Why? Because of the high rate of economy, which nobody can afford a meal or afford anything by themselves. So they believe that living outside Nigeria is not preferable.
So I expected to see most of our youth in government today, but they are not in government because they are personal interests in leadership. All what I am trying to advise the youth, let them stay behind, so that at least we will struggle to see that Nigeria is better.
For many respondents, the mass migration of skilled and educated youths is worrying. They argue that Nigeria risks losing its best innovators, professionals, and thinkers at a time when their contribution is most needed. Others, however, believe that the decision to Japa is a personal choice influenced by the desire for better education, job security, and quality of life opportunities. They say they are limited at home. When asked what advice would they give to youths considering leaving the country, Nigerians offered mixed views.
Should not be deterred, or they should not be discouraged. I know it's not every youth that have the opportunity to travel out of the country, but those who remain, they should still work harder. I believe with the awareness, the country will change, and our leaders will change from their normal behavior.
It's high time for us to come together as a youth in order to sit down and discuss on how and what we can do to make our country better. But at the same time, staying in Nigeria and earning in dollar is more preferable than staying in America and earning in dollar, because the high rate of tax in American is higher than what you are earning in American.
No, my advice is for those that are leaving, they could have get patient. Let us remain to see when God will intervene in our situation. Nigeria will get better.
As the debate continues, one thing remains clear. The Japa syndrome has become a defining reality for many Nigerian families and a pressing issue for policymakers. Kabir Hassan, reporting for Global TV News.
You're watching the live broadcast of News Prime. When News Prime returns, Thailand declares curfew along coast as Cambodia border fighting spreads. Details coming shortly, plus business and sports stories on the other side of this break. Stay with us. In business, President Bola Tinubu has approved an increase in the Code of Conduct Bureau's budget from about 3 billion naira to nearly 20 billion naira. The Bureau's chairman, Abubakar Bello, said the move is aimed at digitizing asset declaration, strengthening verification, and improving enforcement capacity. He revealed that the Bureau had been operating largely with manual processes, limiting its effectiveness in monitoring public offices. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, is set to raise a total of 825 billion naira from the domestic debt market in the final round of sovereign issuances for 2025, underscoring the federal government's continued reliance on local funding amid elevated yields. The plan raised is split between 460 billion naira in federal government of Nigeria bonds and 365 billion naira in treasury bills. However, the CBN stated in its issuance notice that it reserves the right to vary the amount on offer in line with prevailing market realities, a flexibility that could influence final allotments. Meanwhile, Iran has introduced a new pricing tier for its heavily subsidized gasoline, marking the first attempt to curb rising fuel costs since a 2019 price hike triggered nationwide protests and a violent crackdown that reportedly left more than 300 people dead. The move signals a cautious shift by authorities as economic pressures continue to mount. For decades, cheap gasoline has been regarded by many Iranians as a social entitlement, with past attempts to raise prices sparking unrest as far back as 1964. However, the country is now facing growing economic strain from a sharply depreciating rial and tough international sanctions linked to Tehran's nuclear program, making fuel subsidies increasingly difficult to sustain. And on the foreign scene, the 68th ordinary session of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government is set to begin at the State House Conference Center, Abuja. The summit, to be chaired by Sierra Leone's President Julius Maada Bio, will deliberate on regional security, political transitions, economic integration, and the future of the bloc. The meeting is expected to end with a communique and a joint press conference by regional leaders. Thailand has announced a curfew in its southeastern province as fighting with Cambodia spread to coastal areas of a disputed border region 2 days after the United States president and will-be peacemaker had agreed to stop the fight. The Southeast Asian neighbors have resorted to arms several times this year since a Cambodian soldier was killed in a May skirmish, reigniting a conflict that has displaced hundreds of thousands of people on both sides of the border. However, Thailand says it is open to a diplomatic solution, but Cambodia has to cease hostility first before negotiation. United States President Donald Trump has pledged to pursue serious retaliation against ISIL and ISIS after an ambush in central Syria killed 2 American soldiers and 1 civilian interpreter. The attack on U.S. forces was the first to inflict casualties since the fall of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad a year ago. However, an investigation is underway to determine whether the attacker was linked to ISIL, but Trump blamed the armed group that has seized territories across Syria and Iraq in 2014. The Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has called a shooting at Sydney's Bondi Beach an act of evil anti-Semitism and terrorism. Eddie Michael tells us more.
The Prime Minister Anthony Albanese convened a meeting of National Security Committees as a matter of urgency after 12 people were confirmed dead, including 1 gunman, in a mass shooting at the Jewish celebration at Bondi Beach. Albanese described the shooting as a targeted attack on the Jewish community during the first day of the Hanukkah. Anthony Albanese calls the scenes after the deadly shooting at Cindy says it's both shocking and distressing.
This is a targeted attack on Jewish Australians, on the first day of Hanukkah, which should be a day of joy, a celebration of faith, an act of evil anti-Semitism, terrorism that has struck the heart of our nation. An attack on Jewish Australians is an attack on every Australian, and every Australian tonight will be, like me, devastated on this attack on our way of life. Our police and security agencies are working to determine anyone associated with this outrage. Our agencies will provide you with factual updates as quickly as possible as they continue to emerge. We have seen Australians today run towards danger in order to help others. These Australians are heroes, and their bravery has saved lives. As Prime Minister, I say on behalf of...
World leaders have also reacted, from French President Emmanuel Macron condemning the shooting as an anti-Semitic attack and vowed to continue fighting against the anti-Semitic hatred. Italian Premier Giorgia Meloni offered condolences and called for firm resolve against any form of violence and anti-Semitism. Israel President Isaac Herzog was among the first to comment publicly, saying that his heart goes out to Jewish sisters and brothers in Sindhi who have been attacked by the vile terrorists as they want to light the first candle of Hanukkah. Prior to this sad incident, a Hanukkah celebration is one of the most important events in the Jewish calendar, which was taking place at the famed beach where around 1,000 people showed up to participate. Edikan Michael reporting for Global TV News.
Thank you, Edikan Michael. We move to the world of sports, where the Super Eagles have opened their training camp in Cairo, Egypt, ahead of the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. Goalkeeper Francis Uzoho was the first player to report to camp as coaches and backroom staff began preparations for the tournament in Morocco. Nigeria is expected to play a pre-tournament friendly as part of its final build-up. And Team Nigeria have recorded a strong showing in athletics of the 4th African Youth Games in Angola, finishing with 11 medals, 6 gold and 5 silver across track and field events. The medals came from dominant performances in sprints, middle distance races, relays and selected field events, underlining Nigeria's depth in youth athletics and grassroots talent development. Reacting to the outcome, CEO of the NSC Elite Athletes and Podium Board, Yusuf Ali, said the performance reflects the impact of sustained investment, quality coaching and early exposure needed to prepare young athletes for future senior international competition.
I'm so pleased, because when it comes to age group competition, I don't go there to win. I go there as a developmental program, and now we can see 2, 3, 4, 5 of these athletes will make the future. And I'm very happy the age. Some are very young, and I think that's what we are trying to do now as a country, to make sure that we are running the right age. I know people want to go to events like this to win, but for me, as Yusuf Ali, I don't go to events to win. I go there to develop athletes, to look at who will make the future. In the next 2-3 years, these athletes will be in the national team. Some of them will be in the Olympic Games. And I think that's when we start to benefit everything that we are doing now. I think the Sports Commission cleverly are doing the right thing, and I think if it just continue on that note, I think Nigeria will come back to the golden era.
John Cena, the most decorated wrestler in WWE history, has officially retired from the sport after making his final appearance at tonight's main event in front of more than 19,000 fans at the Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. The 17-time world champion brought his year-long retirement tour to a close with a loss to Gunther, tapping out for only the 4th time in his career and the first time in 21 years. Cena was placed in multiple sleepers holds by the ring general and, after repeatedly breaking free, eventually looked into the camera, smiled slightly, and submitted. That concludes News Prime. Here is a recap of our top stories. We told you that the federal government has announced a nationwide ban on the admission and transfer of students into senior secondary school SS3 in both public and private secondary schools across Nigeria. And in business, we told you that the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, is set to raise a total of 825 billion naira from the domestic debt market in the final round of sovereign issuances for 2025, underscoring the federal government's continued reliance on local funding amidst elevated yields. And when we crossed over to the foreign scene, we told you that Thailand has announced a curfew in its southeastern province as fighting with Cambodia spread to coastal areas of a disputed border region 2 days after the United States president and would-be peacemaker had agreed to stop the fight. And in the world of sports, John Cena, the most decorated wrestler in WWE history, has officially retired from the sport after making his final appearance in night's main event in front of more than 19,000 fans at the Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. Here is a quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and StarTimes channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen using @Global TVNG. I am Sheikh Said, wishing all of you a fruitful working week.